Do you own a job or do you own a business? Owning a job is really about, is the company dependent on you? So for example, one of my first businesses was a lawn mowing business when I was in high school. Bought one of those big old 36-inch lawnmowers, had an old silver F100 pickup truck with a trailer, and I had about 30 or 40 accounts, and I'd run around town during the summer mowing lawns, trim. But if I were to ask myself this question back then, do I own a job or do I own a business? Could I remove myself from that business and would it be okay? And the answer was no. I had some help from time to time, but really that business was ultimately dependent on me. When you're in more of an owning a business mindset, what you're doing is you're taking the things that you do and you're systematizing those. You're creating checklists, you're creating standard operating procedures, and you're finding people to slowly take those roles from you one at a time as you grow at the right pace until you can finally step away and fill that true visionary role, which is coming up with the ideas, being responsible for company culture, being the liaison for your company for the rest of the world, creating content for your company, etc. Ultimately, that's where you want to be, because if you ever wanted to sell that business, they want to know how much are you doing in that business? How much is that business dependent on you? Because if they're buying it and it's dependent on you, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. Which leads us to appraising your business. How much is your business worth? Because if you basically own a job, your business is not worth as much as you think you do. Let's sketch this out on a P&L, a profit and loss statement. So we're going to start with my lawn mowing business back in the 90s. I had 40 clients, was making $20 per client per week. So that's a total of $800 per week. Mow about 26 weeks a year. So the total income is $20,800. Now we have to go to the expense portion of the P&L. Let's say we had a $2,000 expense for equipment, $1,000 in gas, $500 in administrative expenses. So the total expenses with me running the lawn mowing business was about $3,500 for a profit of $17,300. Now, when you go to sell your company, the way companies are evaluated is usually on a multiple, depending on what kind of return on investment the buyer wants to make. Just for ease of math, let's use a 10x multiplier. So in this scenario, when the profit was $17,300, with a 10x multiplier, the company would have been worth $173,000. That's what I thought it was worth. But the mistake I made was I still had me in this business. When you go to sell your business, you have to do a P&L as if you're paying yourself or paying an employee to do the job. It's got to be interchangeable. And you also need to be thinking in this way as you run your business as well. Are you paying yourself for the roles? Or even if you're not paying yourselves, are you at least taking note of what it would cost to pay yourself for the roles that you are doing? And eventually when you replace those roles, that is going to be an actual expense. So if I were to hire a team of people and give them, let's say $10 a lawn where I took 20, my total payroll expense would be $10,400, which is half of my income. Now, what this does is it takes the profit down from $17,300 to $6,900, and at a 10 times multiplier, my company is now only worth $69,000. So that's over $100,000 difference just because I didn't take myself out of the business when I calculated the value. If you want to dig more into this concept, there's a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. It's on our reading list at Prairie Founders Club.